Scientific study of VEDAS, creation of universe, starting from BRAHMAM, class 57. Today we are going through another term that is used in Veda, that is Varuna. It is related with the atom and planets also. We know in the case of atoms, the property of any element can be found out from the periodic table. In the periodic table, the group, there are 8 groups that represent the number of electrons in the outermost orbit, that is after the paragraph. If there is 1 electron in the outermost orbit, it has a tendency to give out. 2 also a tendency to give out, but less strength. 3 also tendency to give out electron, but when compared to others, the strength to give out is less. And if there is 7 electrons in the outermost orbit, it has a tendency to attract electrons. All this requires 8 electrons in the outermost orbit. That is why they are either giving out electrons or taking electrons. For these combinations are taken place. So from the periodic table, the atoms are arranged based on its size or number of protons in the nucleus. So if we see that any element is in the third group, we immediately can decide that there are 3 electrons in the outermost orbit and it requires 5 more to make it 8. So it has a tendency to give out 3 electrons, because otherwise it should get 5 electrons to make it 8. The chance for giving out is great. Likewise, we can decide the property of the material without conducting any experiment. So in the periodic table, the name itself is period. Period means horizontal line. There are horizontal lines which represents the number of orbits in an atom. If the number of orbits in an atom increases, the size of the atom becomes great. That also determines the property of the element, because if the size of the atom is great, the outermost orbit is far away from the nucleus, so the electron is attracted by the nucleus. That is why it is revolving around the orbit. And in the outermost orbit, this the force between electron and nucleus is less because it is further away. So that electron can easily go and combine with the others. But if the size of the atom is less, there may be 1 or 2 orbits. In such cases, the electrons are very near to the nucleus, and so it is well attracted and it is not easy to remove electron. So chemical reactions are taking place easily if the size of the atom is big. In such cases, electron will easily go and combine with other. So that also decides the property of the element. So depending on the number of group, depending on the group in which it is there in the periodic table, and also depending on the period, we can decide what is the property of such element based on these factors. So period means That group, as per Veda, it is Ashtadikpalaka. There are 8 positions in which electrons are to be fixed in the outermost orbit. And in the case of period, in Veda, it is represented as Varuna. Varuna means the force acting on these orbits. Varuna Pasha, Varuna rope. By this Varuna rope or orbit, it is combining with the other atoms. We know orbits are joining together to make it 8 electrons. Orbits are taking place, or Daksha is taking place. Daksha is taking part in the chemical reaction, or electrons in the outermost orbit. That is like a rope. Sometimes these ropes are joining. So Varuna Pasha means it is binding the other atoms together. All these creatures in the universe, all things in this universe are bounded each other or fixed each other by these ropes, orbital ropes in the atom. So this Varuna Pasha or Varuna rope or this orbit of this atom plays an important part in the creation of atoms, creation of different types of substances, and also at the same time by joining all the things in this universe through this rope. Or all these objects or things in this universe are bound together by this rope. So this Varuna plays an important role in the creation of this universe. Now let us go through one sutta in Yajurveda, 10 of sutta, chapter is 16 and sutta is 10, and let us see what it says.
Yajurvedam Adhyayam 16 Mantram 60 Rishi Parameshti Prajapadir Va Devaha Devada Rudraha Chandaha Nirjat Arshri Anishtupa Swaraha Gandharaha.
It says Rudra's path will protect us. Rudra's path means this atom, path in the atom, that is orbit. The orbit is protecting us because what all things we are getting from this universe due to the action of these external orbits of the atom. It then says this path is responsible for creating all types of foods and other type of weapons, etc. Because these atoms are combining to make 8 electrons in the outermost orbit, that is in Varuna. That path is called a Varuna. Here that path name is not mentioned. In the coming suttas, they will mention the name. Here it says Rudra's path. It is responsible for creating all types of food for us because atoms are joining together using these orbits to produce different types of food items or anything in the, that is there in the universe, because it wants to make 8 electrons in the outermost orbit, and that electron which is coming out from these orbits contains energy that is responsible for the creation of electricity, radioactivity, and sometimes this electricity may attack us also. And even in bomb, these electron energy from this attack to this orbit are coming out in the form of heat and light, etc. At the same time, it says it should not create any problem to us. Its weapon should not make any problem to us. For example, nuclear energy may be harmful to us, electricity is also harmful to us, and radioactive materials are also harmful to us. So it requires not to harm us. At the same time, we are using these for our benefits. Without electricity, we cannot live. Today, nuclear energy is used to produce electricity. Radioactive materials are used for treating certain diseases, etc. So, this neutron spark is very essential for our well-being. Then, let us go through another sutta in Rig Veda, Mandal 1, 8 in Sutta 24, and let us see what it says.
ഋഗ്വേദം മണ്ഡലം 1 സൂക്തം 24 8 ഋഷി ശുനശേപൻ ദേവത പ്രജാപതി അഗ്നി സവിതാവ് വരുണൻ ഛന്ദസ് തൃഷ്ടുപ്പ് ഗായത്രി.
Says this Varunan creates the path for the movement of the sun. We know the sun also is moving in its own orbit. So this Varuna created path for the movement of this sun. That path is very large, and it fixed this sun's position in that orbit without falling. So sun also is there in an orbit, and it is also is moving around the orbit without falling. We know any object can remain in that orbit without falling because there are two forces acting opposite to each other. So it will remain on that path. So Varuna makes such a law for the movement of sun in an orbit without falling. That is what it says. Now let us go to another sutta in Rig Veda 1, Mandal 1, 10 of Sutta 24, and see what it says.
ഋഗ്വേദം മണ്ഡലം 1 സൂക്തം 24 10 അമീയൈർക്ഷാ നിഹിതാസ ഉച്ച നക്തം ദദൃശ്യേ കുഹജിത് ദിവേയുഃ അദബ്ധാനി വരുണസ്യ വൃതാനി വിജാഗശ ചന്ദ്രമാനക്തമേതി.
It says stars and moon are coming in the night time, because we can see night and stars and moon in the night. Why? It is due to the path of Varuna, because this earth is moving around the sun, by which in the night time we can see stars and moon. And moon also is revolving in its orbit. So at some time it appears, and at another time we cannot see it. It disappears because it also is moving. Both the earth is moving and the moon is also moving its own orbit. Likewise, stars are also moving in their own orbits, that we can see at the time of seeing the structure of this universe. So all these planets and stars, everything is moving in the universe in its own orbits, and that orbits are made by Varuna. That means this Varuna is responsible for creating this path for different planets, and at the same time we have already seen that that path is also there in the atoms also. So all the orbital paths in the atom and also in the universe are created by Varuna, and the force acting on it is known as Varuna. Now let us go through another mandal 1, Rigveda mandal 1, 8 of Sukta 25, and see what it says.
ഋഗ്വേദം മണ്ഡലം 1 സൂക്തം 25-8. ഋഷി ശുനശേവൻ, ദേവത വരുണൻ, ഛന്ദസ് ഗായത്രി. വേദമാസോ ധൃതവൃതോ ദ്വാദശ പ്രജാവതഃ വേദായ ഉപജായതേ.
It says this Varuna created 12 months and an extra 1 month, because the earth is revolving around the sun in 365 and a 1/4. But as per our calendar, average 30 into 12, 360 days are taking, and in alternate months it is 30 and 31. In certain periods it is 28, in that it is adjusting. So likewise there are 12 months. But at the end of, after passing few years, we have to add one more month. That is why in 4 years we are adding the number of days for February as 29. So exactly it is not 360 days. It is 365 and 1/4 is there. So even though we are taking 12 months, after passing several years, we should be adjusted to accommodate this balance days. So that calendar is to be adjusted. That is mentioned here as one more additional month. 12 months plus after some years, one more additional month is to be added. We are adding 1 day in 4 years leap year to February. So that also is clearly that it is everything is related with the movement of the earth around the sun. That is related with the Varuna. Now we can go through other suktas related with Varuna in the coming classes. But what is Varuna? Varuna is the orbit of the planets or electron planets in this universe. These planets are moving in certain orbits, due to which seasons are producing. At the same time, there is orbit in the atom also. That atom's orbit is represented, number of orbit is represented by period in the periodic table. That is an important factor which decides the property of the element. And so these Ashtadikpalaga and Varuna in combined are designing the chemical property of an element based on which different things are formed in this universe. So this Varuna is an important force, driving force, which resulted in the creation of this universe. At the same time, the position of the sun, etc., so position of sun, other planets in the orbit decide the climate at that particular time. Because if sun is in the Medha Rashi areas, the temperature is very high. And in the other seasons, in other portions, different seasons are formed. So that shows the importance of Varuna.